Hi, I'm Rick Reef. Welcome to SoCal Insider. With pension costs soaring, are public employees being unreasonable in their demands, or are they being scapegoated by politicians? Well, that's an issue in Orange County, and there are no easy answers. San Bernardino, like a couple of other California cities, and Detroit have decided that the only answer is bankruptcy. Well, we'll debate. But first, the point man in the drive to reform K-12 education in Los Angeles. David Nazar, what's the story?
Rick, the point man you speak of is John Deasy, Superintendent of the LA Unified School District. And Deasy's been very busy lately testifying in a court case that, for all intents and purposes, could shake up education across the country as we know it. Well, we're going to discuss that issue in a moment. First, though, the superintendent joined with students, education stakeholders, and community members at a rally at LA's Union Station to celebrate National School Choice Week, and that's where I met with him. Hundreds of parents, teachers, and students from all over LA make a train stop at Union Station. It's a huge show of force to underscore the importance of school choice. One after another, speakers take to the podium to discuss the importance of options. One educator talks about the advanced learning opportunities of charter schools and how kids are oftentimes held back in the traditional public school system. Other teachers take to the stage to discuss the fact that charter schools give their students more confidence, ambition, higher test scores, and on a more basic educational level, just a chance to try things they've never experienced before. Whether it's curriculum compacting, subject acceleration, topic enrichment, or just a host of more proficient activities and assignments, all here today say advanced and enrichable kids will do wonders with the proper education opportunities. Stakeholders at this gathering impress upon parents to research different school choice options that might be available to them, whether it's charter schools, magnet schools, or even statewide virtual schools. There are now choices. Before giving his shout out to this enthusiastic crowd, LAUSD Superintendent John Deasy spent a few minutes with me answering some questions. LAUSD Superintendent John Deasy, thank you so very much for being here.
My pleasure.
As you take a look at things these days, how is LAUSD doing, good and bad?
Well, it's doing all good. I mean, it's remarkable. We just finished getting back our national NAEP results, and we're the fastest improving urban in the country. LA has never been at that point. We were also the fastest improving for our youth who are African American, for our youth who are Latino, and our youth in circumstances of poverty. That is a huge affirmation of the quality of teaching and learning that's taking place. Just finished our unbelievable building program, 131 new schools. We're just about to start the second phase of a $7 billion renovation program. And we're probably leading the nation in the implementation of the Common Core.
So for the second largest school district in the nation, you're pretty proud of what's going on.
I'm remarkably proud, first and foremost, of our students, our youth, and our parents, of the faculty and staff who works with the students, because those results don't just happen.
You're here today to address an audience basically on charter schools or the possibility of parents having their kids go to charter schools. It seems right now with folks in LAUSD in the district, you're sort of a prisoner to your zip code. How do you view charter schools or the existing system as it is?
So this is a great moment to clarify. We have a district-wide school choice program. So this notion of being just stuck in your zip code is no longer the case, period. So we provide choice to a whole series of different types of LAUSD schools and any public charter school that we authorize. We are a big believer, my motto is I am a big believer in high quality school, charter school or otherwise. Low performing schools, we intervene and close. High performing, kids get the right to go to them.
It is no mystery that you, our past mayor, Mayor Villaraigosa, some on the board, are trying to reform LAUSD. What do you see are some of the problems right now that you are trying to reform, that you are trying to change?
Well, you're asking me this interview in the middle of probably the most significant trial in California's history, so the answer would be exactly that issue. There are some laws which we think fundamentally do not honor the rights of children. And those laws are being on trial, and I've just finished testimony on that. I'm not going to speak to that issue, except that we've been really clear that we've tried to have the laws changed by the legislature and by the General Assembly, and that has not been successful, and they are now attempting to do that through the court system, where you have all of the support and protection for adults, and not have zero for youth. There needs to be a balance.
And of course, you're talking about Vergara versus the state of California, and obviously being in litigation, I know you can't speak to the specific situation. Of course, there are issues with you can't get rid of a bad teacher, you can't lay off a teacher. Teachers get seniority when there are other teachers who are maybe new to the district but are doing a much better job. Very simply put, how do you see this entire dynamic without getting into the logistics of the case, which I know you can't?
Yeah, so I think the dynamic is that the laws are absent in their ability to protect and ensure students' rights. We don't want to do, I don't want to be part of a situation where in no way do you remove the rights of teachers, but there needs to be a balance for why the entire system exists, and that is for students to learn.
And lastly, Dr. Deasy, is it tough to work with the teachers union? Obviously, there's been so much opposition. You're mired in lawsuits, spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars trying to deal with the union. How tough is that?
It is a joy to work with the teachers. Do not mistake membership. The teachers are stunning, amazing, working hard. There are always differences of opinion in the leadership, and that's why we have processes to move through those disagreements.
Thank you so very much for being here.
Hey, good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, with all the school choice these days, it can sometimes get a bit confusing. So a few definitions back to the classroom. In LA, charter schools are typically authorized by LAUSD. However, they're run independently, and almost all, and this is good or bad depending upon your point of view, of course, are non-union. And as Daisy noted, they're open to kids throughout the district. Now, magnet schools are more traditional elementary or secondary schools, usually specializing in an area such as science, technology, or the arts. And like charters, they are also open to kids from a wide geographic area. And of course, there's homeschooling, again authorized by a school district, where kids obviously learn at home from their parents or tutors. And Rick, there are other developments, also things like including virtual or cyber schools, where, as the name implies, courses are taught online.
You know, David, I thought that Daisy, I know he's proud of the school district, the strides they're making, but the all good comment was I think a bit too much, because even though they've made market improvement, if you take a snapshot, those dropout rates in LAUSD are just abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can't sugarcoat it. They are abysmal with a capital A, but I do want to defend Deasy in one respect. There is a bit of an uptick. We're seeing a trend in better test scores, dropouts fewer, a better graduation rate. Classroom sizes are getting a bit smaller. So in totality, yes, the district is doing terribly, but there is something to be said about the trend in improvement. And if we get more reformers like possibly Daisy or some on the board, we could see even better things happening at LAUSD, I hope. Yeah, you know, David, I thought the most fascinating part of your interview was when when Daisy was talking about this court case, which you guys have talked about. You basically got a suit being filed on behalf of 9 school kids and their families, arguing that their civil rights are being violated because these teacher protections are denying them of a quality education. You know, things like when they do layoffs, it tends to be young, good teachers, the young teachers who get laid off. They're often among the best teachers, while some older teachers who maybe aren't so good anymore, they keep their jobs, things like that. This is a huge case, and boy, there's no doubt now Daisy and the union are on opposite sides of the table. I mean, you asked him about teacher unions, and he said teachers. The teachers are good, teachers good, union bad. Yeah, you know, conspicuously absent in this whole discussion, if you will, this case, was Mayor Eric Garcetti. This morning I put a call into the office and I did get a response. Garcetti is basically saying he believes that every side, Rick, of this debate has a contribution to make. Of course, I'm shortening the statement they gave me, and basically Garcetti is saying, look, let's have the focus be less about politics and vitriol and more on the kids and school choice and after school programs, et cetera, et cetera. How do you read that? Yeah, I'm reading he's trying to cover all the bases and he doesn't want to take a position, which if I was Daisy, I'd be disappointed, because former Mayor Villaraigosa, like Daisy, was one of the witnesses for the plaintiffs. I mean, you had a lot of school superintendents. This is a watershed case in many ways. You've got school superintendents now on the opposite side from the unions and from the state of California. This is a suit that names Jerry Brown, that names the Department of Education, and here Garcetti
the guy who succeeds via Ragosa has a chance here to take a very strong position one way or the other, and he's not. He's trying to have it both ways. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway, David, I also wish that you had had a little time to ask Daisy about the iPads, the problem-riddled rollout they had, spending $500 million trying to get every kid an iPad. Some kids are going around the security, the security controls, iPads missing, liability issues. You didn't get to ask him about that.
No, truth be told, I wanted to ask him about that also, although, as you noted, I just didn't have time. Daisy's handler, sadly, and I'm going to be honest, seemed very concerned about me asking too many controversial questions because I did tell them the issues ahead of time. I wanted to be fair, so they kept the interview very short. In fairness to Daisy, he was also, remember, whisked away so he could take part in that great school choice rally. So, yeah, I wanted to ask him a lot more questions than I was able to.
Okay, well, that's too bad because clearly this guy can handle himself and answer tough questions. And I'm going to learn if it's Deasy, Daisy, but I guess Daisy, is that what we're kind of agreeing on?
Yes, that is his name.
Okay, and of course, throughout the year, we'll continue our education coverage on SoCal Insider and also as part of PBS's American Graduate Initiative. And David, nice haircut there. I like that new haircut of yours.
Yes, terrible on the way it was in the tape and how it is now. Thank you for noticing. You finally noticed.
Yes. Oh, David, I always notice these things. Okay, thanks much. And now, the never-ending problem of public employee pensions. Joining me, spokesperson for the Orange County Employees Association, Jennifer Muir, and opinion editor of the Orange County Register, Brian Calle. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us, Rick.
Brian, do you have any thoughts on this issue with LAUSD and the Vergara court case?
I just want to make it clear up front that this iPad was not purchased by the Los Angeles Unified School Supt.
It would have cost you more if it had.
A lot more. No, I think the case is incredibly important because we've written about it at the OC Register for a very long time, these laws that protect teachers who have been there the longest as opposed to teachers who are the best teachers, and these rules that are oftentimes negotiated in contracts that are the last in, first out rules. So if you were just the most recent hire, you're the first one to get fired in the event of layoffs, and I don't think that's right.
Although the teacher unions argue that these protections for the teachers help them attract people to the profession and retain them. In other words, they're a good thing.
Sure, but I don't think there's any shortage of people who want to be teachers, and frankly, I don't want a teacher who doesn't want to be a teacher because they want to teach students. If we're just talking about having teachers who want it because it's a good job and it's an employment opportunity for them, they shouldn't be teachers to begin with. I want someone with their heart in it.
Okay.
Well, I think if I could interject, I think that's a little unfair. I mean, teachers' unions are made up of teachers, and so this idea that that the superintendent likes the teachers but not the unions is not accurate. I mean, unions are made up of the workers who are part of and who actually do the work. And teachers' unions have been at the forefront of creating great educational policies and making sure that students have the best education, setting standards at the statewide level. And I think that Eric Garcetti had it right. Let's get politics out of this and just focus on the kids.
How can you get politics out of this one? Isn't he playing politics by doing both sides, it seems?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that the lawsuit is a political lawsuit as well. So,
okay, you can't. We can't do it in the political system, so we're going to go to the courts, and that too is itself political. Okay, let's go. Let's switch from teacher unions to other government unions. And Jennifer, your association, the Orange County Employees Association, is now at an impasse with the Orange County supervisors. Surprise, surprise. Tell us about that. What's that all about?
Sure. Rick, we represent rank and file workers in the County of Orange. That's your social services workers, your secretaries, your public health nurses. We've been negotiating with the county for a couple years, and our workers haven't had a raise in 5 years. They've always paid their full pension, and so during this 5-year period, they've seen their take-home pay reduced as they contribute, as they should, to help pay for their retirement benefits. These are also the folks who have time and again stood up against the corruption in Orange County. They've been the first to speak out against money changing hands, for example, between politicians on the Board of Supervisors, lobbyists, their contractors. And so what's happening in this negotiation cycle is that the board has come to them, the workers, and said, we are not only going to continue to not give you a pay raise for 2 more years. We want to continue to cut your take-home pay. And it's the same thing that they did to the grand jury last year. The Orange County grand jury last year put out 2 reports highlighting corruption in county government, talking about the culture of bullying and intimidation that happens there. And in response, what the County Board of Supervisors did was tried to cut their pay. And they're doing the same thing to the workers in Orange County. This is just just bullying tactics and retribution for county
cutting the grand jury's pay is pennies when we're talking about the contracts. That's a lot of money. And I'm saying, and clearly your union, it's 5 years without a pay increase.
Right.
And you guys have also negotiated some compromises with the supervisors, much more than most public employee unions around the country.
$1 billion.
Having said that, the county's argument is, we know that's the case. The money's not there. Is the money there?
There's a lot of money to be talked about in this negotiation cycle. Unfortunately, it's not the dollars that the Board of Supervisors and the politicians on the board want us to be talking about. The board, for example, has given out millions of dollars in contracts to campaign contributors, and they don't want to be talking about all the money they're taking from lobbyists. For example, a recent Xerox contract, they took $190,000 from lobbyists who were funneling money into their accounts and then later awarded a $140 million contract that was riddled with errors that we told them about. They don't want to be talking about their perks and the fact that they just got a pay raise retroactive to July, or taking a $765 a month car allowance for 2 Mercedes-Benz. So,
Brian, how do you see this?
I mean, one of the biggest challenges I see is that there's not enough openness in the process, frankly. I mean, someone like me or someone like you, Rick, we can't get access to all of the information. And so one of the reforms that I think needs to happen off the bat is we need to have open contract negotiations. I would like to see all of the details be public, because we get some facts and figures from the union, from Jennifer, we get other facts and figures from the district, and then you have supervisors who are saying, oh, we can't talk about it because council advised us not to. So it's really difficult to give, frankly, the taxpayer doesn't have a seat at the table. Do you think if there is,
Brian, and that's all excellent points, have more openness and all that. Are you saying that if there's more openness, the problem would change? I mean, isn't there an underlying problem that public employee pensions are escalating at a greater rate than revenues coming into government entities?
Absolutely. And so without getting into specifics, we could talk about this from a principled perspective, right? I don't think if I were elected to be a supervisor, and Jennifer knows this in conversations that we had, that I would feel comfortable giving any raises to anyone knowing that we have an unfunded pension liability of X number of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. That, as a fiscal conservative, makes me uncomfortable. And that's, I think, principle number one. But I think if you had more openness, then people like me could make those determinations and make that advocacy. Because at this point, we have half of our information from the OCEA, very little information from the district, and it's hard to make any kind of public comment on the issue. But I think in principle, to your point, as long as we have all of these other challenges, whether they be unfunded health benefits, whether they be unfunded pension benefits, I wouldn't be giving a raise to anyone, because I want to make sure we have the money to pay those obligations first.
So there was Brian saying he wouldn't give an increase. He's like the county supervisors.
Brian actually brings up a really good point, though, about injecting some transparency into the process, because one of the recommendations the grand jury made after laying out all of the corruption in county government, all the money changing hands, the culture of fear and intimidation here, is that the county should establish an ethics commission to really take a look at some of these issues so that they can sort out, well, who's telling the truth? Is the county, the politicians on the board telling the truth, or is the union telling the truth?
Though, Jennifer,
the Board of Supervisors rejected it.
But Jennifer, again, and you can argue whether that was a good or bad thing, what does that have to do with the issue of is there enough money to deal with these pensions?
And again, pensions aren't even on the table right now for our contract negotiations. The Board of Supervisors has demonstrated time and again that there's money to do the things they want, which is give contracts to their campaign contributors.
Again, those are pennies on the dollar compared to wages.
No, $120 million IT contract.
I agree. Compared
not.
to what a raise might do, sure, it's less money. My concern is that if you're going to ask one bargaining unit to take a cut, then you should probably apply that across the board just as a sign of good faith. And so my problem, and I've had these conversations with many of the supervisors, I said, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. My issue is symbolically, it looks really bad, and you give credence to the arguments that Jennifer and Nick Berardino, the general manager of the OCEA, make.
Okay. Well, Jennifer, in Costa Mesa, didn't they open up their contract negotiations? They wanted transparency. Were you guys in favor of that?
Oh, we've been participating in that process. Look, we'll negotiate with whoever the city or the county brings to the table, and we'll negotiate however they want to.
So are you saying you're in favor of opening up negotiations to the public?
What we actually did in Costa Mesa is interesting. We took the transparency a step further. What the coin ordinance said was that the city council would sort of frame the issue and give a report every once in a while. We actually created a website where we posted some of the proposals and the back and forth and really got at the numbers, because everybody, the public, the taxpayers are served
I love
by
the idea.
opening up, and also the Ethics Commission is another good way to do that.
Okay.
And again, time and again, we've seen, especially at the county, that there's been a huge resistance to doing that. Just yesterday at the County Board of Supervisors meeting, they rejected forming an Ethics Commission, and instead their solution is to actually change the campaign finance ordinance to make it more loose so that they can accept more money.
What about
it just doesn't make any sense.
Is some of this corruption stuff a diversion? If you establish that the supervisors are corrupt, mean, evil people, then of course anything they're saying is discredited. What about the argument that the money's not there? We know you've gone 5 years without an increase, but the cost of the pensions is increasing so much we can't give you raises. And again, to go to the corruption stuff is almost beside the point. Let's say you're dealing with corrupt people, but they might be right on this one issue.
Well, I mean, it would be one thing if we were the only ones saying it. It's just that the grand jury published 3 reports. There's an FBI task force right now in Orange County looking into corruption in government and all the money changing hands. And it's all tied to all the contracts that the board and that other politicians here have let out. These are huge dollar contracts. So, you know.
But that amount of money wouldn't make up for the raise that you would like, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, think about the IT contract they just let out was $120 million, the biggest contract that's the biggest contract they'll let out. And a raise for us wouldn't be that much. And another point, a very interesting point, is the board keeps talking about the VLF money that the county lost.
That's vehicle license fees, right.
Right. What happened was the county refinanced their bankruptcy debt and left some money vulnerable to be taken by the state. They were warned in 2006 by your paper. The Orange County Register said,
we do a good job.
You do a great job. Yeah. The Register said, hey, this money is out here. Yeah. It's vulnerable to be taken. You should probably do something to fix it.
They were stupid. How much did they lose? Like 40 million or what is it? It's a big number. It's a big number.
No, it was 76 million. But
so
now that's why they're saying.
They're stupid. They're hypocritical. Let's, for sake of argument,
I didn't say that for the record.
The piggy bank is empty. They're saying the piggy bank is empty.
But it's not. And in fact, property tax revenues are going up. The reason that they say the piggy bank is empty is because they failed to protect this money. And now what they're trying to do. But if they did, then
it's empty.
But it's not. And now what they're trying to do is say that the public health nurses, the social workers, the secretaries, all the county workers who've only come to work every single day and done a good job, that they have to pay the entire price for that. That's wrong. And that's what's happening across this country. It's not fair.
I think we look at it holistically, and that's when I said that I don't think, if I were an elected supervisor, that I would give any kind of raise right now. Because when you look at it holistically, you go back to the days when everything was great, the economy was wonderful, and we made some real bad deals, including pension deals in the county. And that's caused taxpayers to be on the hook for a lot of money. And until we get that right, I don't know what we can offer outside of getting that right. So what I would like to see, and the OCEA has done more than most in other parts of this country and state, to reform pensions. But I think more needs to be done, and if more could be done, then you start talking about a raise. But again, I say that without having the details of the specific contract negotiations. And in some parts of this country, like Douglas County, Colorado School District, they actually have open negotiations. So the taxpayer
and we have to end it. We have to end our open discussion with that. And Jennifer, again, I will also say, because I kind of jumped on you a lot, OCEA has done a lot of work with the supervisors seeking compromise. You can watch this show and past shows at rickreef.com. Segments of the show can also be viewed at pbssocal.org. My guests have been Jennifer Muir and Brian Calle, and thanks also to John Daisy. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again on SoCal Insider.
SoCal Insider with Rick Reef is brought to you by the following. 5 Point Communities is a proud sponsor of PBS SoCal. 5 Point Communities is an independent real estate development company with assets under management across California. More information available at www.fivepointcommunities.com. Snell & Wilmer is a full-service business law firm with more than 400 attorneys in Orange County, Los Angeles, and throughout the West. On the web at swlaw.com. Snell & Wilmer. Straight talk, sound counsel. Practical solutions.
Relief Pod's latest generation of safety kits now go everywhere you go. Relief Pod's organized, color-coded, and compact safety kits keep first aid and emergency items accessible for a safe lifestyle every day. Relief Pod. Live ready.
A healthy future for you, your family, and your business is why Memorial Care Health System transformed healthcare. Our hospitals, physicians, and outpatient centers keep patients healthy and care for them when they're not. Memorial Care, one healthcare system leading the way.
Air pollution can make us sick. Asthma, permanent loss of lung function, even premature death. At UC Irvine, our research is leading to scientifically sound options for reducing pollution and protecting our health.